All righty, All Facts Media. My name is Aaron Robinson, joined by my twin brother, Andrew Robinson. And today we have a special guest. We have Terrance Munch Williams, the director of the PSA Cardinals EYBL Grassroots program. Thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure's mine, man. Let's go. I'm hyped.
Yes, sir. Glad to have you. So we'll get right into it, man. So obviously, right now we are in unprecedented times in the U.S. and obviously in the world, with this coronavirus situation. And, it's affected a whole lot of aspects, mainly, not mainly, but specifically with this aspect, the basketball, piece of it. You being an AAU director, the recruiting, for the spring has already been canceled. UIBL spring has been canceled. There's speculation just to whether the summer live year is still going to happen. So, how have you as an AAU director, been kind of dealing with this? And from a planning aspect and a recruiting aspect, what have you done to kind of help your program out from a basketball standpoint?
Yeah, first and foremost, I think every executive director, coach, adult in all of these programs need to make sure that their guys are safe, right? Safe in physicality, as in, practicing social distancing, staying home. Having those mental check-ins on guys to make sure that their mental state is up to par. We've been, it's because we're a holistic program, making sure that academics are where it needs to be. For me, I literally just got off a conference call with one of our guys, call herd of academic people at his boarding school to make sure that he's staying abreast of what he needs to do, understanding everyone's different learning styles, understanding their different setups at home, or wherever they might be trying to figure out how to get their work accomplished. So that's been the heaviest focus for us, not so much pressure with the basketball. We took a different twist, I think, than most people. Like, we're not encouraging guys to dribble a ball in the house. We're not encouraging them to, obviously physically do something, do your push-ups, do your sit-ups, do your pull-ups, whatever you could do, but challenge your mind, right? At this point in time, our big focus is, what are you reading? What are you writing? What time are you spending with your family? Are you playing Scrabble? Are you doing dominoes? Are you, challenging yourself to become a more well-rounded individual? And just making sure that they understand that this pandemic can be looked at a lot of times from the negative, but then you have to find a way to change it into seeing the glass half full. And what I mean by that is just basically saying every single morning, what are the things that I could get accomplished, right? Controlling what I can control. All right, basketball is down for a second. It's going to come back. Like, we know that's going to happen, right, at some point. But the biggest thing for us is, what are the other things that you're mastering, so that you're in a space where when programs and colleges do call about you, there's no hiccups. There's no box left unchecked. What is your character? What is your academics? What is your family lifestyle? Who are you? But then there's other things that you could do. We got our guys watching, like some of the schools that are recruiting our guys, right? I'll have them send film of their games so that kids can watch games. So if it's Temple or Villanova or UConn, whoever it is that's recruiting guys, I'll say, hey, listen, tell those 5 schools to send you 1 game each that can go inside your schedule. So you can watch a game, see what the college game is like, see the offensive situation, see the defensive situation. So there's a way to kind of get ahead. The older guys that's being recruited, I'll tell those schools, hey, man, do me a favor and send him, practice plans. Treat him as if he was a 2020 kid as opposed to 2021. So as you're recruiting, it's not just the fluff of, hey, sending the kid a picture with him in a uniform. Like, we're past that. We're way beyond that, and we're looking for things of substance. As far as what we're doing, you'll see us sending out, our guys' mixtapes, retweeting. We'll do, get guys a lot of interviews, get guys on platforms such as yourselves, do podcasts, have them do group podcasts where culturally they're staying connected to each other. They're supporting each other, and it's not just an individual thing all the time, because jealousy can emerge in those settings, right? We're also expanding on our younger class. So as opposed to just worrying about the 21 kids that were scheduled to play 17U, we're focusing on the 23 class and the 22 class and making sure that those guys are getting interest, those guys are getting offers, the schools are getting their academics. They know that they're stabilized to make sure the academics is set. Every single morning I wake up and I put at least an hour in of communication with college coaches, whether that's a quote exchange between us, whether that's a reading exchange between us. And that leads into, I kind of could dictate a certain kid's level that I think. So if you're a kid that I think is your potential and what you want is to end up in the Ivy League, and we have an article, I'll take that article and send it to every Ivy League school, every Patriot League school, every academic high major, Northwestern, Vanderbilt, Stanford, all of these schools. And then, for that day, I'll make sure that kid is good. So I got maybe 30 to 40 guys that I need to help navigate through this process. But it's an everyday thing. For us as a program, I say, hey, listen, we need to come out of this pandemic even better than when it started. This is a time when most people take a break, right? Human nature kicks in when you're like, man, I'm bored, I'm tired, my mind is not giving me the energy I need. For us, if we can get our kids to continue to push forward and our adults continue to push forward, we're going to come out ahead of the curve, right? We're going to come out hitting the ground running as if it didn't happen. Now, once the basketball kicks in, our biggest thing is quality over quantity, right? If we have just live period in July or whatever's going to be there, as long as we get coaches in the building to see us, we'll be fine, right? We're talented. I think we're lucky. We're one of the luckier programs in the country where maybe 98 to 99% of our guys right now today have an offer, at least one offer from 15U to 17U. So no one is in a space where they're like, I don't have an option. And then the biggest thing is allow the work before you to put you at ease. If you look at what we've done, we have 7 classes, right? 2014 to 2020, right? 6, 7 classes. And every single kid is going to college for free. If you know that our framework works, you don't need to stress. Take your time. Spend time with your family. Like if you look at a guy like, Quincy McKnight, I finished my college career at Seton Hall. His focus is different. Who's going to be my agent? Where am I going to end up playing? But now I could get some time with my family. I haven't been in Connecticut to spend quality time with my family in but so long, right? Yeah. Somebody like Hassan French, I'm testing the waters, but I get to spend time with my family. Cole Anthony, I'm going through this MBA process. I need a agent, a financial advisor, a sneaker brand. I got a lot of other stuff to worry about, along with I need to give back, right? I need to find ways to give back. So our guys, and the list goes on and on and on, have so much going on that it's just a matter of channeling what's important. And right now, the thing that's important is your health, your connection to your family, what you're doing with your mind. Because if your mind is strong, you can make sure your body stays strong, right? Are you reading something? We got guys like Tyson into photography. We got different kids that's into different things. So that's been our challenge. Hey, who wants to write a song? Who wants to be the next person to create a different video game? Like, it's about coming out of this thing with something to show for the time that you quote unquote lost. You know what I mean? So don't let this be a time where when you're done, you just say, yeah, I just sat down for 2 months. I got nothing to show for it. You're not going to show anything basketball related. You're not going to push-ups and sit-ups. You're not going to gain 15 pounds. You're going to have to do that at some point. But This is the time where we're challenging our guys to say, hey, you said you're a student athlete, right? The athlete part, put it to the side. Are you really a student? Are you really holistic? What are you into? Challenge, just do anything. Write poems, write songs, right? And us as the leaders in our program, if you see somebody like Coach Dre Charles, he's doing financial literacy classes online, showing the kids, right? Showing the students, hey, this is what you do with your Pell Grant. This is how you could get your credit straight, right? And then we're doing, we just sent a bunch of gift cards to some of our families that might be in need. So you do your community service, right? Where you make sure that your families are connected. You don't know what each one is going through, but one of our parents donated some gift cards, and we wanted to give it to the student athletes where, they know like, hey man, this is the least we could do from a program's perspective. And then we just got a bunch of group chats going on. We try to send them things to think of every day. And then we'll get to the basketball. Like, that's for PSA, that's the least of our worry. Honestly, that's the least of our worry. When that thing get going, we'll be right where we need to be. But what we need to control right now is how our kids are feeling emotionally, right? And not just allow them to play 7 hours of video games. Like, you just can't do that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you touched on it a little bit in your response. You do have a lot of guys that are testing the waters and going through the NBA draft process.
yeah,
Obviously, with the basketball world on hold right now, it's kind of hard to get gym access. It's kind of hard to kind of know when pre-draft is going to happen in terms of the combine and working out with teams. For your guys that are going through that process for your program, like what are they kind of doing during this process to kind of stay ready and prepare themselves with the limited access, that we have right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important point is each kid's trajectory is different, right? So I break it down and say, okay, Cole Anthony, phenomenal family. They're gonna make sure he's fine. All he can do is, hey man, do the things off the court that's gonna allow you to showcase who you are. A lot of people can make comments or observations on who you are based on what you do on the basketball court a lot of times. This is your chance to show the world a different side of you, right? Like you said, do the physical stuff. That's fine. But ultimately you have to, do other things right now. So his biggest thing is not, am I shooting the shots? No, I'm going to the lottery. Like 9 times out of 10, I'm ending up in the lottery. The most important thing is picking the right agent, right? If he picks the right agent, the agent is that's his job. This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to showcase me in the best light possible. Use the platform that I was on in the ACC. Use the footage that you can get, whatever you need to make sure that I'm getting drafted in the right place. Whether that's at 6, whether that's at 3, whether that's at 11, that's God's plan ultimately. But you got to pick the right agent. When you look at someone like Quincy, his thing was, okay, how do I navigate? First and foremost, let me make sure my academics is straight because I need to graduate. I want to walk away with this degree, right? So handle that. Then it's, okay, you can't do anything basketball related. What's your most important thing? All right, well, what are all my options? Do I have, if I go undrafted, do I deal with the G League? Do I go over the water? Do I do some overseas stuff? Do I get a 2-way? How do I find it? Got to get an agent, right? So navigating that process of interviewing agents, that's where he's at, right? And he's conquered that. He did a good job. He has the right agent and agency that he feels comfortable with. So Cole is 1 up, 1 down. Quincy's 1 up, 1 down. Then you go to Hassan French, and you have things where you send your paperwork into the NBA office. They tell you projected wise, based on what they've seen, this is a roundabout space where you might get drafted or go undrafted, right? So his paperwork has already come in. He has the data. Then you have got to continue to do your academics, right? But you still have eligibility left. You can go back to this thing. Don't change, and there's no combine. There's no workouts. Common sense kicks in to say, hey, listen, you know what? I got 1 more year before I need to graduate. It could be the best thing for me to go back to school, graduate, dominate. Now I can play basketball for the rest of my life as long as my body holds up. But I have my degree to fall back on. So it's not about having him. He's not signing with an agent. You can have an agent walk you through the process, right? But then some level of trust for your circle is going to have to kick in at some point and say, hey, it's not your fault they didn't have the combine. It's not your fault they didn't have workouts. It's not your fault they didn't have all these opportunities. The real thing for him is what's going to be the deadline in which I need to withdraw my name. Is that before college is saying, hey, you got to come on back? Or did they move the draft back? He doesn't know that. You can't control that. But what can you control? You can control doing your academics every day, right? And you control having a great time with your mom, who you don't get to see for 3-4 months at a time, right? And then when the basketball presumes, you got to make a decision. Am I staying in this draft, or am I going back to school? So certain things you can control today, and some things you might be able to control in 2 months. You don't worry about the 2-month thing. Just focus on what you can control now. That's my opinion. So those are the only 3 guys that are going through that process. So we're 2 for 2, and we'll end up 3 for 3 when it's all said and done.
Now, kind of staying on this NBA draft pipeline, there's a rule that's I guess being voted on sooner. The NBA Players Association has been discussing a lot about this. With these 5-star prospects, your Jalen Greens, your that are like to not go to college, to just go right to the G League, you know what I'm saying, and take that route. Obviously, you've had a lot of 5-star players, you know what I'm saying, from your Obamas, your Quade Greens, the list goes on. But, you know, what are your thoughts on this rule and this prospect of guys, you know, these 5-star athletes that, you know, might be able to come out of high school and go right to making, you know, $500,000, $1 million, you know, in the G League?
I love it. It's opportunity. It's change, right? Life is about change and adapting to that change. And anytime guys that look like you and I have other avenues to control their own destiny and choices, you kind of get the chips in the game of poker, right? You control what you want to do. It's your decision. Now you just have multiple decisions where it's not only one way to skin a cat. It's not one way to slice the pizza. I love it. As long as you're getting the proper information, as long as you're being realistic with yourself. And I think part of that process that makes that option good is they didn't take away the opportunity to go to college. So there's still something in there that says, hey, we're going to give you a full scholarship. So you can still follow through with that. The other thing is, I think the people who are making the decision on what's considered elite, right? Those guys, like every 5-star is not getting that opportunity. It might be the first 10 kids, right? Reality is the first 10 kids they don't want to go to college. They want to be one and dones anyway. Yeah. So I just saved 6 months of going on a college campus and basically having a tug of war with my college coach over everything that he needs me to do to keep his culture content, right? Because he needs to treat me the same way he treats the guy that's there 4 years. But I'm running a different race. I'm only here 6 months. Yeah. Right? So I think it's dope that it's another option. I think guys got to be smart. But as long as guys are utilizing that college portion of it, I'm all for it, right? I'm all for it. Like there's going to be, if we're doing the right thing, there's going to be guys in our program every year with that opportunity, right? Some are going to take it, some are not. But if you were basically saying, I believe I'm a one and done, and I really don't want to go to college, and I could do all of this stuff to work on my skill, my body, get closer to the game, it's a viable option. I'm not telling somebody what they should do, but it's a viable option. It's a lane that you have to analyze. And I'm all for like more lanes that favor the student. Yeah. You know?
Right. I think you touched on a little bit in your response, which was honestly my question was in this as well, was like that piece of, I mean, hey, one, who's considered elite here? Because you know what might be considered, what might be elite to me might not be elite to somebody else. So like, where do they draw that line at? And as well, like you said, I think a key piece of this is, you know, being advised. You want to make sure that kids have the right people in their corner that are giving them the right advice. You know, because at the end of the day, if you take that step to the G League and it doesn't work out, then you're going to have a backup plan, obviously, if it doesn't work out. So, I mean, for you, you know, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that, and just being able to advise kids and, you know, make sure they're getting the right advice and things like that?
Yeah, I think here's the thing with because it's the start of it. In my opinion, they're gonna make it so cushiony that you have to win. Like that kid, like Jalen Green, is not gonna play a ton of basketball. Like they limited it to about 25 games, right? So they're already into the world of you negotiate with your body, right? I forget the term they called it this year. When you're sitting out some games, right?
Load management.
Load management, right? They already putting him on a load management scale, right? Yeah. Time frame. You're good with that. The other thing is, it's going to be a lot of exhibition games, right? So he's not going to be going crazy from the wear and tear on your body, because it's designed to create something that's like, it's just a taste of what the league is like, right? The other thing is, if Jalen Green, if Isaiah Todd are successful, the NBA is smart enough to understand the next 3 to 4 kids are going to raise their hand and say, I'm in here, right? You don't want to play in a lot of games because, knock on wood, God forbid, there's a major injury. Yeah. That's going to scare everybody to say, oh, whoa, I'm going to college, right? So for the G League to become that other avenue, they need to make it nice and soft where these guys are feeling comfortable in every avenue, which is why they're like, hey, where you're from, we're going to try to make sure you have a team in your state, right? We're going to make sure your family's around. We're going to make sure there's a good amount of money, the nutrition. Like, it's going to be red carpet as best they can. So I do think if it doesn't work, it's not a high probability if it doesn't, because those guys who they're selecting was scheduled already to go to college and go right to the league. Jalen Green is going to be, a lottery pick, whether he went to Memphis or Kentucky or wherever, or if he went to the G League. The projection, a lot of guys are going high in the draft because of projections. His age, he's young, he's athletic, he got upside, all of this stuff is kicking in. So he's not going to miss out on a lottery. Like, when it's not successful as a kid that was supposed to be lottery turns into, I didn't get drafted, or I went in the late first round. If there's a downhill spiral because you did the G League situation, then you got issues. But G League is connected to the NBA. Yeah. There's all type of finding ways to make sure that kid goes where he's supposed to go.
Yeah. Now on the flip side, for the kids that aren't elite, the guys that are going to your Ivy Leagues, your mid-major schools, or even your high-major schools, there's a rule that's getting ready to get voted on in late May, early June on this transfer. Yeah. Basically, that it's going to basically be able to rule if one-time transfers get immediate eligibility. Now, there's been a lot of speculation that this rule is basically going to hurt high school kids because a college kid that has one scholarship, you can say, oh, wait, why am I going to take a freshman? I can go get a transfer that's immediately next year. So for your kids that, are looking to be freshmen in college and earn scholarships, how do you think this is going to affect them?
Yeah, I mean, I think you start from stuff where it's like kids are in a rush to reclass, right? And the game of the reclass for you is, hey, if I reclass, I'm older, so I'm going to dominate these guys, right? Yeah. So, okay, if you reclass, that's fine. To each his own, right? I'm not against it. The next thing you know, okay, it's all about competition, right? If I could look at a 19-year-old high school kid and a 20-year-old college kid, but that 19-year-old high school kid is just as good, if not better than a 21-year-old college kid, I'm taking the high school kid, right? The other thing is adjustments. Understand the game that you're playing. Yes, the one-time transfer rule is probably going to come through, and when it does, it's going to put the power in the kid's hands, right? Where the kid is like, man, listen, you told me one thing, but this looks different. I got my one time to walk out the door and try to get it right the next time, right? But if you're a high school kid, the smartest thing for you is, one, consistently get better, consistently get stronger. Do the things you control, always, but then it's a time frame in which your value is higher than the transfer guy. And that time frame is basically in the early stages of recruitment, right? So instead of being the kid that's saying, hey, I'm waiting around to March when the college season is over and all of these transfers come on the market, now you go to the back of the line. Yeah. When you're from September to, let's say, February, you're the king of the castle. You're the one that they studying. You're going against, because before it's announced that, okay, and granted, there's going to be ways to move around and find out who's transferring. That's just the underbelly. Cool, it happens. But if you're a high school kid, the colleges are giving you their undivided attention, really, from September to February, right? Because they don't know what kid and they're not really chasing all the junior college kids. They don't know who's going to be a grad transfer right away. They don't know who's transferring. You got to understand the game of, all right, when March kicks in, there's going to be 1,000 transfers. And there's going to be 500 of those guys who are saying, I'm a grad transfer. And another 300 to 400 are saying, hey, I'm utilizing this one time get out of jail free card, right? For lack of a better word. So the high school kid has to adjust to that. Instead of sitting there pouting, rearrange your brain to say, okay, I got all of these schools. When should I commit? If I commit between September and February, have conversations with the coaches to say, hey, listen, I'm going to commit between September and February, but can I trust you that you're not going to go get an older kid and just over-recruit me? Yeah. You know what I mean? Some going to tell you the truth, some going to lie because they want to win today, right? But if you wait until March with I'm just waiting, you better be one of the top of the food chain guys. Right. You can't be the kid that's like, hey, I'm looking at, the MAC and you go to the back of the line and be patient. Right. And then your time frame kicks in. Your time frame just said, okay, you missed the September to February time. Now your time frame, forget it. Start setting your brain up. March to July, you are relevant. At the end of July, August, you back on stage because all the shuffling has happened already. Yep. Right. The problem is young kids you can't be sitting there saying, oh, this ain't fair. Ain't fair doesn't matter. This is the reality, and how you deal with that reality is what's important. right? So like I tell my guys, you know, you young guys, oh, no. They don't care about you right now. And that's fine. And I have conversations with college coaches to say, what are you guys time frame? What are y'all thinking? How are you going about your recruitment process? If this is a kid in 2021, what should I be advising this kid?
Yep.
We're not thinking about them 2021 kids right now. We're going to worry about them September open gym if there's no AAU, right? We'll catch them later. But right now we got to figure out this 20 class, right? And understand if this is the other thing. If let's say May 20th came and the one-time transfer rule kicked in this year, all them guys that just transferred to a school, they're going to see a different roster than what's coming behind them because more guys are going into the portal, right? But I doubt it's going to actually go through this year because they need to put in some level of like GPA requirement or something that says for you to get this one-time transfer rule accomplished, you got to get something. It's a prerequisite coming. You can't just say, all right, everybody just run inside the portal. It's not going to happen. What's going to happen is the high school kid, it's going to be even more difficult to get it right the first time because they don't watch a lot of college basketball, right? A lot of families don't watch a lot of college basketball. The other thing is you're in a space where if you're picking a school, let's say you picked the school in October, cool, you got your scholarship, you're all settled in. When March comes, if that school loses 3 guys, right, for whatever reason, that school loses 3 guys. They got 3 scholarships, and they bring in 3 older guys that could play right away. That role that they explained to you that you was going to have as a freshman might not be the same role. Yep. So you rolling the dice every time.
Yep.
Every time. Which why I think more guys are going to start going to schools within their region. Because if you go to schools within your region, that university has some relationship with either your high school, right, or some relationship with your AAU, and you have strength in that. Where if you screw a kid over that can't, like for instance, you screw a kid over that come from my program, oh, you know you can't come back here. It's over. That program is eliminated. It's done. We moving on. It's 300 and something more schools that we could deal with, right? So if a school has to consistently recruit in your region, you got a better chance of not getting screwed over. If you're a kid in New York and you like, hey, man, I'm just going to go to school over in Texas, and them 3 Texas kids come back from wherever they was at in the transfer market, you got to sit down, little New Yorker. Right, yeah. Just happens, right? Because I don't got to recruit New York like that. I'm recruiting Texas consistently. So I think the trend is going to probably turn to a lot of kids going to schools within their region. And then you're going to see a lot of young kids saying there's a level of paranoia, right? So those lists that they used to throw out of 15, guys going to be like, nah, you know what? I'm picking a school now. So you see a lot of young kids right now, they scared to death. I'm taking a school. But let's say you took your school today and that transfer rule kick in. By the time you get to campus, it's going to be 4 of the dudes that they didn't show you on that big board. Yep. So it's like I said, it's a gamble, but there's ways to work around it mentally, right? And it's time frames where you got to show up. Like September, open gym, you better show up if there's no AAU. And your AAU coach got to do his job. He got to get on the phone with these coaches and say, hey, I got kid A at this school, and you need to go see him. And then communicate with him to make sure that happens. And the high school coach right now should be doing some work, right? The high school coach and the AAU guys, they're going to have to get on the same page. Because if a kid don't get a scholarship, right, that ownership of that failure doesn't just go to the AAU guy or just go to the high school guy. Y'all both failed that kid. So it's easier to say, listen, let's work together. And for 12 months, let's make sure that we get this kid straight. And I've been fortunate enough to have really good high school programs work with me in collaboration or work with our program in collaboration to make sure that kid A is well. Because when he drops that announcement, you want to see the high school name on there. You want to see the AAU name. Everybody want their clout, right? So everybody got to do some work.
Yeah.
Obviously, me and Ace, we're DMV guys, and there's been a lot of chatter on Instagram with Quinn Cook. I don't know if you heard about it with this,
Is
DMV.
he a legend?
Yeah. Is he a legend? It's DMV versus New York guys. We got Lance Stevenson supposed to be playing Victor Oladipo, and Quinn Cook supposed to be playing Isaiah Whitehead and all this kind of stuff.
But
I think
I didn't know that. That's dope.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I think, both of us have the luxury of, being in areas that are just so rich in basketball tradition and history.
Yep.
And, players who have reached the pinnacle of basketball. So, can I just talk about, being in that New York scene and being able to, coach so many of these pro guys that play at the NBA level, but just talk about what it means to be a part of that New York basketball family, who has contributed to the to the NBA and to just the history of basketball in such a large way?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the DMV obviously I got nothing respect for it. That's like the whole, generation thing. Is LeBron better than Kobe versus Mike? We could go on and on all day, right? I think New York, the one thing I say about New York, for better or for worse, everybody can say without a doubt, there was a time frame in life where we were the best. We were the Mecca. It was like people in the DMV gonna say, yeah, New York was the Mecca at this time. Like they're gonna give you a chunk. Now in the other time frame, maybe it's negotiable. Maybe people are playing tug of war. Maybe we're all trying to figure it out. But at minimum, we could say we own some part of history, right? Where at least we can say as New Yorkers, we were the best at this given sport at this time frame. Now, how long that time frame lasts, that's up for debate. But the reality is we're one of the people that can say, hey, we're the best at something, right? And that's the same thing I say about Grassroots. For us, I just want to be able to say PSA was the #1 program in New York City, in the region, in the country for this amount of years, right? And then everybody else is going to split it up later. You might get 2 years, you might get 1 year, you might get 2 years. But if we are able to grab 6 to 8 or 10 of those years, you can leave. And that's a hard thing to do. But to answer your question, I think it's phenomenal for us to have a part of the history of New York City and to produce and help produce those level of guys, right? And the good thing is those guys are great character kids, and they're gonna do the right thing in society. And I'm interested in what they're gonna do once basketball is over. Hopefully, I'm alive to see it. And our culture, our framework, the people that are around these kids, like I have literally the best group of people around me. I can't call them co-workers. I can't call them staff. Like they're literally my brothers. And the way that we do things, collaborating with the families and the kids that we have, if you're nice, like really like that, it's hard for you not to make it. As long as you keep your head on straight, like every avenue, every door is open for you at this point, right? And we're lucky. Like I got downstairs frames of all of the guys who made the NBA, their jerseys now signed. And I'm not a big like take a bunch of pictures and do stuff like that. But as I get older, and as we get older as a program, I know that, at some point this is going to come to an end, but you want to see, sometimes you need reminders and see the fruits of your labor. Right. So that's been a motivation of mine. And we want to push this thing forward, man. We want to get a bunch of more guys in there. Like, I think we got the potential to get 3 to 4 more in the next 3 to 4 years. Like, the statistics are important when you're dealing with legacy, right? And at this point, as well as New York City, PSA connected to that, we're legacy chasing, right? We're comfortable saying, okay, we want to be one of the guys to hold the flag and say, nah, New York's not dead. New York's not. You're wrong. We just put, if we look at just our program, just put 6, 7, 8 guys in the league in the last 5, 6 years. So people gonna move the goalposts. That's what happens. So it's not about just making the league. Then it turns into, well, how many All-Stars you got? How many Hall of Famers you got? And every single time you think you get close to getting respect and your flowers, they'll move the goalposts. So at some point, you just got to be comfortable in your own skin. And what we do, our kids, they come in and their dream is, I want to make the NBA. They don't say, my dream is to make the NBA, be a 6-time All-Star, be a Hall of Famer, do this, do that. They're not that detailed. It's, I want to make the NBA. So as long as we can help them along their journey to make that, then we did our job, right? That's a difficult task, man. Like, you've been around basketball your whole life. Like, I mean, what? You play with a bunch of people, and who made it? Hamadou, right? Out of all the people you probably know, like, touched, like, this my dude. We played together around each other, like Tremont Waters, right? So you got 2 out of the number is immense, right? And, I mean, think about it. If we put, I don't know, 70, 80 guys in college and we got 7 to 8 guys go pro, we're basically at 1 pro per class. That's unheard of. I don't care what area you in, right? The DMV, New York, that's unheard of. 1 pro per year, that's crazy. And that's luck, with skill, with everything else. And honestly, it's God, above everything else. So sorry to be so long-winded with that.
No, you're good, man. mean, that was the last question I had for you. I know that Andrew, wants to add on or ask you.
Yeah. I want that. Just, on a lighter note, on a more fun aspect, obviously, like I said, you mentioned you coach a lot of pros. Give us one of your, one of your funniest, AAU stories on the road with one of these guys, man. Give me a funny story.
Oh man. You know what? It's not even. It's one of the things that initially came to my head. It's not even about a pro. It was about my man Arashma Park. He came in, and we run people probably tell you that been around us. Travis, dudes like, yo, they run a tight ship. You stay your ass in line, do what we supposed to do. Let's get to the next task, right? So all I know is Rashma, and I think it was Rashma and maybe Jake Forrester. They come in our room, and they're like, yo, you broke the bed in the hotel. I'm like, broke the bed? Now, we've been on the road 6-7 years. Like, that never happened. Like, you broke the bed. So he like, yeah, I broke the bed. I'm like, okay, cool. Call your mom right now. Tell her to send the money. Whatever the lady downstairs charge you is what you're going to pay on the spot, right? So they call moms. And you got to tell your moms while everybody's sitting there. So everybody's literally in the room. The coaches is just watching the whole thing, calm, like, oh, you broke the bed? All right, cool. Do your thing. So now you calling your mom and you like, hey, I need you to wire me $357. Your mom's like, what are you talking about? Why would I wire that type of money? Like, y'all don't even spend money on the road. And now you got to explain, I broke that bed, right? So wire the money, took care of it, blah, blah, blah. Lesson learned. Stop being one of them wild guys on the road. Stay disciplined. Obviously, there's consequences to your actions. All these lessons are in that. So to me, that was one of the funnier things. I think the other thing was, I think it was Ishmael. It might have been Ishmael Masood. He had weight now. Ishmael came in there talking about, you know how in the hotel you're not supposed to drink the water. Like, they charge you.
Yeah.
So it was like Ishmael and might have been Ishmael, James, Book Night. It was Ishmael, James, and maybe Tyson. Somewhere around that. These dudes decide, I'm eating these cookies. I'm hungry. I'm drinking this water. Sky high bill, right? All right. Call downstairs and find out how much the water. They call downstairs, lady like, hey, the water, one little bottle of water, $19. Cookies, $12. This, so the numbers was like extreme, like super huge, where they like, oh, this is crazy. They got to go pay it like on the spot. You know what I mean? Because we got a big thing where don't use the phone, don't do nothing that cost us, right? Don't get on no internet that cost us. Don't touch nothing that cost us. You got 3 square meals, plus you got snacks and stuff that we buy. So it's not like you hungry. When you start doing stuff that's out of the ordinary, you're on your own, you're gonna pay for that. So that's one, I think that was pretty funny, but I'm sure there's a bunch of more, man. I mean, not to go into details, but there's a bunch of wild stuff going on.
Nah, man. Yeah, I've been playing AAU, playing basketball, travel on the road. I never heard none of my teammates breaking the bed. So
they broke that bed, man.
Awesome, man.
6'8", talking about he just laid on it. He broke that bed.
That's crazy, man.
Yes, sir.
We want to thank you for coming on with us today, man. We really appreciate it. Yes. You're doing a lot for the basketball community right now, and grooming these young men up to be stars. So we definitely appreciate you for coming on today. And we wish you guys the best of luck going forward.
Thank you, man. Appreciate y'all. And please don't forget what I said, man. It's an honor to be on your platform. I'm just investing in something I think is going to be fruitful, and I think it's going to be tremendous. It's going to be groundbreaking. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Like I said in the early stages before we were recording, you guys are literally walking what our identity is about, owning your destiny. And I'm here. I'm only a phone call away, a text message away, and that goes for the entire PSA family, whether it's kids, whether it's coaches, whatever we could do to help you guys continue to push forward in what you're doing. We're on board, man. We're on board, and have fun with it. Thanks for the time, and the pleasure literally was all mine. All right. See you guys when we get out of this.
Yes, sir. Stay safe, Coach.
Yes, sir.